Jerry Paxton with GamingShogun.com here at the 2009 CES in Las Vegas. We're here with Robert Krakoff, the founder of Razer, and they've got a couple new products at the show, and Robert's going to tell us a little bit about them. How you doing, Robert?
I'm doing good, Jerry. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I want to get right into it. About 8 years ago, we actually announced the Mamba, and it's taken us a long time to get there, but we finally got there, and we kind of stopped and started on it. We wanted to make a wireless mouse that was equal to a wired mouse, but there were really four hurdles for us. One is it was basically latency. The second was battery life. Third was weight, overall weight, which is really affected by battery. And then the last was interference in like live events and UIOCs and that those kinds of things where the signal would be distorted and you'd be playing on somebody else's machine, right? So what we actually did was yesterday we announced to the world the final version of the Mamba, and it's really packed with product. First thing I will point out is that this mouse is actually wired and wireless. We have a kind of a convertible approach to this mouse. We call it a dual mode play, where you can play wireless, obviously, and let's say that the battery starts to die. The blue light will begin to flash, and all you really need to do is to go into the base unit, pull out the USB cord, which is really, by the way, a new nice rated cord, and then just plug it right into this. I won't do it on here because it's actually already plugged in here. You can see how it goes. So that's kind of how it works. And most people who are wearing their glasses can do it in about 2.2 seconds. And the other thing I wanted to point out is that regardless of whether it's wired, and you can try it wireless or wired, the latency is the same, 1 millisecond of latency, regardless of which mode you're playing in. You will not have any latency. There's no such thing as zero, so this is the lowest possible latency of any wireless mouse in the world. And that's all based on, by the way, this is running without drivers. So this is just, and this is a T1 sample. The next sample next to mass production, so you're actually seeing very close to the final. And these have been here for a couple of days and been used for a couple of weeks and other events, and they're performing immaculately without any problems at all. So the technology really works. The solution, it's a hardware-based solution. So it's basically built into the firmware of the mouse and doesn't rely on drivers. That's why I mentioned it's running without. So given that, the other thing is and this is kind of cool, while it's sitting, while you're playing in a wired mode, it's actually charging. So 5 hours of play in the wired mode gives a full charge from nothing to full. And in the base unit, it takes about 5 hours to actually give it a full charge, or 4 hours, sorry. So 4 in the base, 5 in wireless, almost negligible. And you notice it went into the sleep mode, like in the wireless mode. In the wired mode, it never goes into sleep. So in order to get it going, it's just move it just slightly. The default right now is 1 minute in the default to the battery. It saves battery life. I think we're going to change that to 5 minutes. 1 minute's a little short. The battery has a life of 14 hours. Wow. Battery basically just pulls in here, pulls out. It's a nice little about 21 gram weight battery, and as I mentioned, weight was an issue. So we actually mouse, and you can feel the weight on this, is extremely light. It's the lightest wireless mouse ever. It's 129 grams with the battery in it, 108 grams without the battery, and typically a wireless mouse will go in at somewhere between 160 to 195 grams. Very heavy, and the issue there is potential SRI, lots of stress-related injuries, and so you don't want to. Gamers tend to play at 6, 7, 8 hour intervals non-stop, and it's just not good for you to have a real heavy mouse. I don't know if you can see this light here is flashing. This is basically right now goes off of these lights. This is a DPI indicator, and there's 5 settings of DPI. The factory defaults are 800, 1200, 1800, 4000, and 5600. So this is a laser 5600 up to 5600 DPI mouse. However, in the drivers, you'll be able to adjust that all the way from at 5 different increments, anywhere from as low as 125 DPI all the way up to 5600. So in every increment divided by 125 in between. So you'll be able to have those settings, and then you save them and they'll go right into the memory of the mouse. I mentioned memory. Typically, Razer puts memory in a lot of their products, a lot of their mice, keyboards, such. So they're transportable, so that you can basically save your settings, pull it out of the mouse, and plug it in anywhere.
Right.
And as long as the program, the exe file, resides in the computer, you'll be able to use those settings, regardless of whether the games, Photoshop, whatever they are. So the memory in this mouse is actually double, 64 KB, and a lot of that has to go to actually running this dual operating system and also not operating system, the dual core approach, right. And then the other thing that it allows is you still have four profiles. After all that memory is used in the firmware, there are still 4 profiles and almost unlimited macro capability now within the profile. So the macros currently in our current drivers, I believe, limit you to 11 characters. This is 500 characters, so
wow.
Per macro. So you can write very complex macros now to the buttons, and of course you can assign any button, and there's a lot of buttons on this mouse.
I see that you got 2 now up here by the left button as well.
Right, they're 2. These are all programmable. Of course, the scroller, click in, scroller forward, scroller back. Mouse 1, mouse 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I guess it's basically nine profiles. And of course, our drivers are very, very friendly and allow you. Actually, have a new GUI, but they're very friendly. Allow you to program any button to do just about anything you want, and including assigning keys and writing big macros. Now, I mentioned the last thing we had to fix was the interference. This is a 2.4 gig, which automatically puts you. I mean, it's powerful. You can mouse through walls. I'm not kidding. That's not an exaggeration. You can't see the screen, but
right.
But you can actually do it. It's that powerful. But of course, that's a built-in problem because there's all kinds of wireless. You got hubs, routers. Yeah, they'll still run. And the reason is that this mouse to this base has a MAC address, its own unique MAC address in the firmware of this mouse.